Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a really dark, cautionary folktale today. It's a story that lives right on the terrifying edge between science and sorcery. And to really get the chills going, we have to start by listening to the fearful whispers of a forgotten city neighborhood. Parents actually warn their kids with those exact words. They paint this chilling urban legend of a man they just call the graveyard digger. Adults literally cross the street to avoid his property, and kids dare each other just to touch his iron gates. To the outside world, he's a terrifying myth walking right among the living.
And there's this jarring, cinematic contrast here. So picture this. The city around it is humming with digital billboards, loud traffic, bustling corner cafes. But then you have this necrotic, tomb-like monolith just sitting there in suffocating silence. It's basically an architectural manifestation of grief, locked away behind heavy iron gates and overgrown weeds.
Local legend has it that for 15 long years, this house has been a literal beacon of dread. Eerie lights flicker late into the night, and this metallic, acrid scent, like decay mixed with organic solvents, just pours from those slit-like windows. The whole neighborhood thinks it's a cursed sanctuary, completely oblivious to the very real, intensely human torment happening inside. But to understand the monster the town fears, we've got to uncover what broke his mind. Section 1. A tragedy in silence. The origins of obsession. See, Aaron wasn't always this figure of absolute dread. Actually, he was once a brilliant, really humble biology student. His entire world revolved around two things: his tight-knit family and his profound love for a girl named Akira. They were his anchor, his future, his light. But that light was put out in an instant. During some citywide protests, Aaron just popped out to fetch cookies and drinks for his family and Akira. Just a completely mundane errand, right? But while he was gone, a neglected winter gas chamber in his home malfunctioned. It started leaking carbon monoxide. It's a silent, invisible, odorless poison. No alarm sounded. Absolutely no warning was given. The day destiny fractured started out so incredibly simply. But when Aaron pushed open his front door, he found his loved ones gone. Just like that. The sheer suddenness of it completely fractured his soul. But instead of breaking down and accepting this cruel twist of fate, his grief forged this terrifying, unyielding obsession. Aaron made a vow that very night. He was going to defeat destiny itself. He decided he would literally rewrite the rules of life and death. Refusing to accept the finality of the grave, Aaron crossed a line no mortal should ever cross. Section 2. The Alchemy of Obsession, Conquering Decay. The neighborhood rumors claim that over 15 years, his madness totally escalated. At first, he spent years just trying to revive small animals. When that didn't work, the desperation really set in. He actually pivoted to humans. Using hooks, ropes, and literally digging subterranean tunnels, he began silently stealing corpses from fresh graves in the dead of night, kind of like those historical resurrectionists you read about. And his descent birthed an absolutely horrific scale of obsession. He went from a cluttered workspace of scattered books and beakers to a chilling, fully mechanized outpost. He built these massive tanks solely to maintain the fragile, icy stasis of his family's and Akira's bodies. He was desperately holding off natural decay while searching for a cure for death itself. But to conquer the swift, merciless march of decay in his newly stolen test subjects, Aaron basically had to become an alchemist of the macabre. The cold, sterile reality of this operating table really shows the lengths he went to. He wasn't just trying to preserve them, he had to actively, forcefully fight nature's rotting process every single day. The source details his precise, terrifying methodology. First comes the extraction, and then the chemistry. Aaron meticulously engineered this fragrant, greasy barrier made of organic solvents, glycerin, phenol, and aromatic resins. By applying this concoction, he basically suffocated the bacteria, buying himself about a month of time for his blasphemous experiments before the stolen bodies would finally succumb to the rot. Yet, as we know, science has its limits. After 15 years, his 100th trial nearly ended in absolute disaster. A sputtering spark ignited this ravenous lab fire that almost consumed his entire life's work. Slumped on the floor, completely covered in soot, Aaron was finally forced to admit a devastating truth. Empirical science alone was never going to reopen the door to life. Driven to the very edge of madness by this massive failure,
Aaron realizes he has to look beyond the microscope. Section 3. Seeking the dark arts. Beyond empirical science.
So now, Aaron's facing this intense internal conflict. The scientist in him demanded empirical proof, logic, and highly controlled environments. But the occultist path? It whispered promises of arcane might, summoning spirits through blood, bone, and chaos. He decided he needed to fuse his precise chemical formulas with the terrifying, unpredictable power of ancient, forbidden rituals. Leaving his tomb-like sanctuary behind, he traveled over 3,000 kilometers. Imagine that. A lonely, agonizing 3 to 4 month pilgrimage through dark alleys and hidden enclaves. He was hunting for a true master of the black arts. He needed a guide who could teach him the rituals that science absolutely dared not touch.
This dark quest eventually brought him to the forgotten town of Old Luthanica. The whispers around here say this place is just heavy with the scent of damp rot, ancient oaks, and unspoken fears. And it's right here, near the graveyards, in this broken, dilapidated house, that Aaron's journey reaches a critical, irreversible turning point.
It was here, in the dim, bruised violet dusk, that Aaron finally found what he was looking for. Section 4. Confronting the Abyss. Meeting the Monster. The man he found was named Charles, and wow, Charles was no ordinary eccentric. Locals whispered that he was an escaped convict from a 200-foot concrete jail. He was a guy who wove dozens of murders into a dark tapestry of forbidden magic. Charles was feared as a true master, someone who could actually summon spirits and command the dark arts.
In their chilling first confrontation, the clash of their two worlds is just palpable. Aaron literally offers to pay anything for Charles's knowledge, but Charles immediately warns him that true rituals aren't just chalk circles and recited words. No, they are hungry, unpredictable spirits that absolutely refuse to be easily chained.
Charles totally dismissed Aaron's desperate plea at first. He told him that while he was armed with science, he was completely empty on life's true mysteries. And to prove his point, Charles walks right into the graveyard and seemingly speaks to the unseen dead hiding among the shivering weeds. The temperature drops, a faint, disembodied laugh echoes out, and Aaron's rigid scientific mind is violently challenged by phenomena he simply cannot measure or explain.
But Aaron's unyielding obsession won out over his terror. Charles tested his sanity, sure, but Aaron fiercely demanded to learn the rites anyway. Seeing this unshakable resolve and, let's be real, needing to flee the authorities who were closing in on his own dark crimes, Charles finally agrees. The two of them forge this unholy alliance, getting ready to blend Aaron's chemical science with Charles's lethal sorcery.
And that leaves us here, standing right at the threshold of the unknown. As Aaron crosses that final boundary from empirical science into the wild, unpredictable chaos of black magic, we have to ask ourselves something. When faced with the agonizing silence of a loss like his, what would you sacrifice to bring back the ones you love? Thank you for exploring this dark explainer with me. It really makes you wonder about that fragile line between grief, love, and utter madness, doesn't it? Catch you next time.